Good afternoon, guys, from Troon in Scotland. What am I doing in Troon on a cold, fairly rainy January afternoon in 2025? Well, I am here to take a trip on Caledonian McBrain's long-awaited new ferry, the MV Glen Sannox. And hopefully, all being well, that's going to take me over to the Isle of Arran this afternoon. I've been to the Isle of Arran before, but sailing from Ardrossan. On a different ship, of course. So yeah, I hope everything goes to plan, because tomorrow all the sailings have been cancelled because we're going to be in the eye of a storm Eowyn, I think it's called. And yeah, even some parts of the UK have been issued a very rare red danger warning. So yeah, plan is tomorrow to just hunker down somewhere and not do anything much, just keep out of trouble. But yeah, unless I do it this afternoon, well, it's going to be a long while before I can get up and try it again. So wish me luck. I'm going to head over to the ferry terminal, which is over in that direction. Sailing is 15:10, so it's going to be pretty much a there and back kind of thing. So yeah, I'll head over there in a bit, and I'll see you on the ship. Right, well, where do I start with this one? Well, on the bus, as it happens, the Glen Sannox. Well, it can't sail in or out of Ardrossan at present because, well, in a nutshell, it's too big for the port. So because of this, there is a free temporary bus transfer service from Troon railway station to Troon Harbour and back, which is fine. But, I mean, this is just the port facilities, and we'll come on to the history of the ship a little bit later. Anyway, it should only take 5 minutes or so from the railway station, although there were delays today, as I suspect quite a few people were trying to get back to Arran before the storm hit. And the bus, well, it drops you off outside a temporary porter cabin type building, and that houses a ticket office and a waiting room. Right then, guys, and here we go, the MV Glen Sannox at last. Yeah, it's busy. I think a lot of people are getting on the ferries this afternoon and this evening because, as I said earlier, they're not sailing tomorrow because of the weather. Anyway, headed on now, first one on board pretty much. Let's go and enjoy it. There is a little bit of cover along this walkway, and at the end I wasn't quite sure what the boarding procedure was, but the crew member confirmed here that I was going to have to clamber up this old style and fairly steep looking gangway. Looks impressive from out here anyway. Just straight up. Brilliant. Cheers, mate. It's like front boarding as well, isn't it? Look at this gangway. Try not to fall over, but yeah, nearly there. Now, I'm sure that anyone who's got mobility issues, well, they will take you on board via the vehicle deck. I mean, that's a fairly obvious assumption to make, isn't it? I mean, even for somebody at the peak of physical fitness like myself, well, yeah, I was struggling by the time I'd reached the top. Right, guys, out on the stern of deck 6, and yeah, it's raining a little bit, but fortunately there is some cover in this area. First impressions, it's very new, isn't it? Reminds me a little bit of the MV Loch Seaforth I was on the other day, and you will have seen that in another one of my videos. But you could have a proper wander round. I'm just thinking now it might be better to do it kind of now before we leave Troon rather than later when it's really busy. So yeah, we might have a bit of a wander round, have a look at the passenger facilities, and then we'll come back outside on deck to watch us depart. Okay, so the first thing I did was head down to deck 5, which, just like the MV Loch Seaforth, is where most of the passenger facilities are located. Using the big push-button style door to enter, we have table seating overlooking the stern and the vehicle deck. This is the coffee cabin, which is typically what you find on the larger Carmack ferries, and it serves a range of snacks, hot cold drinks and alcohol. There was a small shop tacked onto the cafe that you had to access from the other side. I was a little bit surprised that there were no souvenirs of the ship, like postcards or something, especially seeing as it was brand new, and yeah, that would have been a nice touch. Anyway, moving towards the bow, we have a centrally located kids area, which was a little bit sparse, I thought, and everything seemed to be screen-based activities, but maybe this will be improved over time. There's some airline style seating on the port side here, and we're moving back past the gangway that some people were still struggling up, but yeah, at least when you've reached the summit you can drop your heavy luggage off at the handily located storage areas opposite. And further forward, and the presence of tray storage and long table seating indicates that we're heading into the Mariners Cafe, which according to the Calmac website offers a truly unique dining experience. Well, it's much the same as the other Calmac restaurants, to be honest, and they all use the same generic name. And that's not to say that it's poor by any means. I actually really enjoy the main meals on board. They're tasty and reasonably priced. For this afternoon's crossing, I tried out the steak pie, skin-on fries, which is just a trendy name for chips really, and peas, plus a cup of tea for £16.25. And the pie was really nice, with plenty of meat in it if you like that sort of thing, and there was certainly plenty of it. And like I said, I think Calmac do pretty good food at reasonable prices for a ship, but it's certainly comparable with a lot of other ferry companies, if not a little bit better possibly. Lots of seating here, though most people who were sat at the window tables weren't actually eating, which was a little bit annoying in my opinion. And moving back down the starboard side, I found these interesting boards here that displayed some information on the ship along with proper photographs of its construction. Well, I guess proper photographs were used because digital photography hadn't been invented when they first started building it. I'm only joking. There's more airline style and bench style seating here, and note the abundance of stairs as we walk around. And maybe the thinking behind this was that the more access points you have to the vehicle deck, the quicker you can get passengers down there and vehicles disembarked. Now what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Up onto deck 6 and you have the observation lounge overlooking the bow, again very similar to the Loch Seaforth here, and it's a very nice space to while away the crossing. There's a quiet area up here just over to the one side. All in all, absolutely fine, and although I do keep comparing the vessel to the Loch Seaforth, don't forget, this route, whether it's from Troon or Ardrossan in the future, over to Brodick on the Isle of Arran, is a significantly shorter crossing than the Ullapool to Stornoway route. So in that respect, yeah, facilities on the Glen Sannox, they should be perfectly adequate. However, it's probably wise to reserve judgment on this until after the summer season. So time to depart. I headed back outside to the stern just in time to see the ramp being lifted and the lines taken in. I always find this quite an exciting part of the ferry crossing, watching the crew in action. Surprisingly, there weren't as many vehicles on board as I'd thought of looking at the open section here anyway. Although, yeah, as per usual, there were plenty of car alarms going off as soon as we'd left the berth. Grey skies this afternoon and the wind had started to get up, but we were on our way, and I, for one, was really looking forward to it. back down here on deck 6. Have you noticed how quiet this ferry is? I'm assuming they have used some of the most modern technology in terms of the engines and the propulsion of the ship, but if you know any more than me, then please let me know in the comments below. And also, it's pretty stable as well, because it's not the calmest crossing in the world. And you know, I'm talking to you, I'm not holding the camera, it's just standing there, and I'm not using a tripod or anything. So yeah, surprisingly steady. Actually, I was expecting a little bit more sway than this, but I'm enjoying it so far, and I think we're probably about a third of the way across now. So yeah, rain's keeping off. I'm going to enjoy a few more of the views, I think. Yes, where I was on deck 6, there is certainly plenty of seating, and it's good to see that a lot of it is under cover. There is lift access to all decks, and I headed up to deck 7 via the green lift, where the wind was certainly getting stronger. And again, there is plenty of seating up here, although the side decks are barriered off to the public. Well, the skies looked dark and brooding now, but amidst the gloom, the sun was trying to break through. Now guys, we cannot put this off any longer. We must talk about the construction of the Glen Sannox and all the issues that surrounded it. Well, I know some of you here will know much more than me about this, and yeah, I will do my best to summarise, but I would be really grateful if you could add your thoughts in the comments below. Well, first of all, it started long before this YouTube channel did, way back in 2015, where Ferguson Marine Engineering Limited, the only Scottish bidder, were announced as the preferred bidder on a £97 million contract to build two vessels originally known as Hull 801 and Hull 802. Hull 801 was to become the MV Glen Sannox. In February 2017, the keel was laid in Port Glasgow, and on the 21st of November of that year, without funnels, a bridge or any windows, she was launched into the Clyde. Now, what followed during the fitting out process appears to have been absolutely farcical. Endless delays, disputes, political interference, administration and subsequent nationalisation of the shipyard, and apparently construction of the ferry had begun without even the design being signed off. Can you believe that? Well, it seems like everybody blamed everybody else, and a process that should have taken around 4 years from start to finish resulted in over double that length of time. Well, following successful sea trials between February and October 2024, she was finally completed by what was now Ferguson Marine Port Glasgow Limited, and then handed over to Caledonian McBrain. MV Glen Sannox entered revenue earning service on the 12th of January 2025, 11 days before this video was made. I got here as soon as I could, and yeah, like I said, I'm sure many of you will have an opinion on this whole saga. Honestly, there is far too much for me to cover comprehensively here, but please feel free to comment accordingly. I read all your comments to all my videos, and I really appreciate your input. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, guys, I would really appreciate that too. If you click on that subscribe button, it really helps me out, and I can make much more content like this. Thank you very much. So yeah, an interesting past already, isn't it? But finally we are here on the first UK built ship capable of running off liquefied natural gas. Note the word capable there. And it's designed to carry 1,000 passengers, 127 cars or 16 HGVs across the Firth of Clyde. Was it worth the money? You tell me. I stayed out on deck as we approached Brodick, just admiring the views really. The car alarms were still going off, but it wasn't long before we were entering the sheltered waters of Brodick and the Isle of Arran. A couple of things to close out. Wi-Fi, well it connected, but yeah, it wasn't really suitable for streaming or anything like that. It was a bit of a tedious affair all round, to be honest, though I don't think you're going to be far from a mobile signal on this route. And if you need to charge your phone or anything else, CalMac do provide plenty of charging sockets for your convenience. We were losing the light as we came into port. I have been here once before actually, sailing out of Ardrossan on the MV Caledonian Isles. I'll link to the video here if you want to see what that was like. Now the scenery as we approached Arran did once again look absolutely stunning. And the price I paid for this return trip was £9.20. It's £4.60 each way, and the crossing takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes. I was staying in Glasgow, and there are frequent rail services between Glasgow Central and Troon. It takes around 40 minutes, and the train cost me £11.70 adult return at the time of this video. So yeah, about 20 quid for a day out, plus your food, drink, etc. And that's not bad value really, is it? Ardrossan is more convenient, but the railway station is right next to the port. But until redevelopment work is completed, well, the Glen Sannox is confined to Troon, with the MV Caledonian Isles scheduled to run Ardrossan to Brodick services on CalMac's summer timetable only. I made my way across the passenger gangway, which I must say is much more foot passenger friendly than the one in Troon. I only had half an hour on shore, unfortunately, because I needed to get off Arran and back to Glasgow before all ferries, buses, trains, you name it, were cancelled due to the incoming storm. But it was just enough time for me to find a suitable spot from which I just took a minute or two to summarise the journey. Right then guys, the Isle of Arran, and I've just arrived here courtesy of Caledonian McBrain and their latest ferry, the MV Glen Sannox, behind me there, which has been in service only a couple of weeks actually, and for me, yeah, it was quiet, it was stable, and it's efficient, which is everything you want from a ferry, isn't it? That's going to take about an hour and a quarter to get from Troon to Brodick and back to Troon again. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and please join me on another adventure soon, I'm sure you will. And until then guys, as always, cheers for now.